Like I usually tell you, we shall leave no stone unturned. Welcome to the Duke's Farm. My name is Dennis Duke Onyala. Today we've driven roughly around 400 kilometers north of Uganda, and we've visited Lad Mixed Farm. And of course, we're going to have a very wonderful conversation with a gentleman who left his job and is now happily doing farming. Why happily? Those are some of the things he's actually going to talk to us. Welcome to my channel.
Thank you so
much. How are you, Mr. Arthur?
I'm fine, Dennis.
Please say hello to our viewers and let's get started.
Hello, viewers. I'm glad to be here and sharing my experience with you.
Your name?
I'm called Arthur Nkubito.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Arthur Nkubito.
Yes.
Arthur Nkubito looks like a name that is not synonymous with northern Uganda. It's like western Uganda. Is that correct?
Exactly. My origins are from Kisoro district. I'm a born of Kisoro, but grew up in Kampala, but then decided to come up north to venture into farming.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who do not know Uganda very well, where he comes from is about 400 something like that kilometers from Kampala, capital city, and then another 400. So he literally moved like 800 kilometers from his home to come and set up a farm in the northern part of Uganda. That's of course in Gulu district. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are in Inwea district. It was cut off from Gulu.
Oh, it was cut off from Gulu.
Yes.
So let's start from one of the most interesting parts that I picked interest in. You left your job to come and do farming. Why was that? Was it an easy decision?
I've been contemplating, by the way, going into full-time farming, but then circumstances also brought that quite fast because of the COVID experience. Once COVID hit and it was done, there was a global financial challenge. And so as an institution the institution where we're working, we had limited funding, and so there was deliberate downsizing of staff. So when my contract ended, of course, there were no opportunities of renewing because of limited funds. But then I was already contemplating going into full-time farming. So when it came up that way, I just delved into farming and said, let me move in and see what comes up.
Okay. Was it an easy decision to take?
It was not an easy decision. Why? Because the way it happened, I had hoped to work up to December before I go into voluntary retirement and go into farming. But because of financial constraints at the institutions where I was working, then my contract was not renewed. So there was no option but to really graduate earlier, I think 8 months or 9 months earlier into full-time farming.
Oh. And
so I came in much as I didn't have enough resources, but I felt it was the right time to start anyway.
Do you have hopes of going back into employment?
No.
Okay.
I don't envisage myself going back into employment.
Have you had a safe landing in farming?
No, it has not been safe. As I told you, it was a little bit abrupt. When my contract ended, I expected it to be renewed, but it wasn't. So now I found myself with no option but turning to my farming venture. I had already started, but I wasn't well grounded yet. So now when it happened, I decided to come in, much as I had less resources, but I felt it was still the right time to start because it would take me another, let's say, 6 months to get employment. And yet I was already contemplating retiring early. So that's how I felt that it wasn't feasible for me to go and look for employment.
You decided to go into farming. Why farming for you?
As a development worker, I've been working with communities, supporting them through our projects that we're implementing about climate smart agriculture, community development, and other livelihoods interventions. So I was able to see the people and communities were supporting, how they were making big strides in progress, becoming financially independent, and yet for us, as myself who's trying to promote that, I was still full-time in employment.
Yes.
And I used to always feel that challenge. So I always felt that at some point I'll go back and go into full-time farming. But remember, I am also from a background of farmers. My father is an agriculturalist. And so we've been doing farming more or less in a subsistence way, but not at this level where we are trying to look at it in a commercial way.
Did you have land already in place? Please take us through that.
Yes, fortunately, since 2013, I've been trying to acquire some land slowly by slowly. Being a salaried person with all the other responsibilities, I didn't have enough savings per se. So whenever I would get some money, I would buy an acre or two until I was able to accumulate. I think currently I have, slightly over 60 acres, and that's what I'm currently settled on. And so I'm trying to put several ventures on the farm. I'm trying to do some goats and some pineapple farming and some chili, among others. Okay. So it is still a journey as I keep on unfolding other ventures that I would like to venture into.
Okay.
Yes.
Something that I also forgot to mention was Mr. Arthur here has a very good YouTube channel. I think you can see it on that particular screen. So please go there, subscribe to that particular channel and get to learn some of the things that he actually does here at his farm. So you decide to go into farming, you now have the land. We want to understand the kind of lifestyle you had after employment and now going into agriculture, because agriculture is not a 1 month thing, it's not a 2 month thing. It takes quite some time before you start getting returns. How did you manage life without employment?
I must say that it's quite very tough. It's literally like going through a furnace. My experience has not been easy. When I left, remember when I was employed, it was a monthly salary. Now when I came, much as I had very little saving, I had a lot on my plate to be able to, look out for. I had workers to pay, and yet I didn't now have any stable income. And therefore I needed to be so frugal with the little I had. So I tried to pick on that. Fortunately, I had started something earlier. And so I was just tried to consolidate whatever I was having to be able to make ends meet. In the first season, it was not easy. I tried to identify some crops that can help me get some money as I pushed on. One of the things I actually tried was garlic farming. I did an acre of garlic, hoping that I actually injected in around 4 million shillings in a particular acre. But it was during the first season, and that's when we experienced great change in the climate. We had like 1.5 months without rainfall. And remember, garlic is a crop that needs a lot of rain to be able to, grow very well. So it was a big bang that I experienced. I actually managed to get, I think, only a basin out of the whole acre. So having injected in a lot of money, I thought it would rescue me as I waited for, say, the other crops to mature, but that was not the case. So I found myself financially constrained, and it has not been really an easy journey. But then also getting staff, workers to work on the farm. Yes, they're available, but there is a lot of worker turnover because of the many opportunities that are around us. In the Greater North, if you observe, there are vast expanses of land, and so people greatly find work easy. And so they'll work at this farm for a month or so. When they just feel a little bit bored, they'll just take off, even without a clear excuse. So you find that once you have a farm and you've already set your crop and you have identified the workers, after a month or so, these people tend to move on. And to identify the other people to come and take over, it takes a while, let's say a week or so, and yet the weeds are not waiting.
And then
so by the time they come, it's
training
already,
those workers.
Exactly.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, you normally get, because for what we do here, we identify these workers. They always come in as casual workers. Then at some point, we start looking at those that are showing potential, and then we try to put them on a monthly stipend. It's a way of encouraging them so that, we try to create a mutual benefit where we want them to stay longer when they know they can get their monthly salary, but when we are also knowing that we can have stable, workers to work for us here.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you advise somebody to leave employment for farming?
I would only recommend that if you have really prepared yourself adequately. It's very important to start making this preparation whilst you're still at work. Ensure that you know exactly what you want and the magnitude you want to first achieve before you decide to leave. But even as you decide to leave, ensure that you have some other stable source of income out there. It can be either a shop or maybe another enterprise that is giving you steady income. Don't leave work, full-time work, expecting to get from this farm if you delve in straight away. It does not work like that. when you hear theories, it shows like it could work out magically like that, but practically, it's a different game once you come fully on board.
Mr. Arthur, what do you see yourself in this farming business that you decided to go into in the next couple of years?
Well, I see ourselves at Lad Mix Farm, expanding and setting up some other ventures. Of course, currently, as I told you, we're into 3 enterprises at the moment. We're into goats, pineapples, and chili. But once we settle up and start getting some more resources, we want to look at other ventures that we're still making research on. But we hope to be a center of excellence where we can really bring more people to learn and be able to provide some of these good breeds that we are doing here to help and support the community around and the sub-region as a whole.
Okay.
Yes.
So ladies and gentlemen, our conversation with Mr. Arthur is still ongoing. Please make it a point to check out our channel, have different segments or episodes of him. Number one, we just started with this so that he can share his experience in regards to how he left employment into actually starting up a farm. But also in the other segments, we shall talk about how he started his goat farm, but specifically how he has been managing the pineapples. He has about 10 acres of pineapples. He has about 6 or 7 acres of chili. We are all going to exploit or exhaust all those avenues that he's currently handling at his farm right here in Gulu. Thank you so much for speaking to us. See you guys in the next episode. But before I go, don't forget to go and check him out on his YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
It's Lad Mixed Farm.
Lad Mixed Farm. And then subscribe, watch his content, because there's a lot, quite a lot, that you're actually going to learn from there. See you shortly.